Greetings, Stevie P, and finally the Rulers of the Outer Worlds full guide here. And what I found after actually looking it up is the arrangement that I've got here is actually unique. So I'm using Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith, and this is apparently not the meta, but this is a much more aggressive build. So with both Cloud and Tifa, the damage output is super high, so it does rely on an ability to basically the skill cap for this is higher, so you need to be able to understand the mechanics really well and be confident with dodging and blocking, rather than, you know, having someone else, like for example, you know, you can have Barrett and you can maybe have Yuffie as well, whereas for me, in fact, Red is the one that, if anybody, that I would replace Cloud with, because Red's also quite aggressive. So yeah, it depends on the style that you're going for, but for me, I like high damage output, high risk and high skill, so that's why this, but it also means you can clear them off fairly quickly. This, however, I should also say, is quite an early option. So a lot of their materia is underleveled right now, particularly when it comes to the elemental materia that is not fully leveled, which is a significant disadvantage, in fact. So yeah, this is really for if you're wanting to go for the hardcore hard mode option for sure. So in terms of setup, in fact, I've got a Damarong here because I've already earned it. But what you'll have if you're doing it first time round at this early stage is Limit Booster on Cloud. And then I've got Ribbon on Tifa, which is in fact quite useful, and Enhanced Expeditionary Medal with Aerith, because not for all of them, but with some of them, particularly Gilgamesh, we will be using the Infinite Limit trick, which is really useful. It's worth sort of mentioning that on Tifa I've also got Reprieve, but that's not coming from her weapon, that's actually coming from her folios, and that's quite handy, having Reprieve. So, and then she's the one that will put re-raise on as well, which brings us now actually nicely onto the materia. So Magnify with Time is very useful on Cloud, and then also Magnify with Barrier using Mana Wall at various points is very useful. And HP up and MP up, again, you can see here the cost of not having leveled everything up fully. You know, these are not the maximum buffs that we can have for them, but again, I like a challenge, so why not? Elemental, again, here you can see not a fully leveled elemental with Fire on defense for Cloud. This is kind of one of the main weaknesses actually for Cloud, is that he's not got immunity to fire. Barrier with magic efficiency just makes Barrier with Magnify much more effective. It means because every round you only get 30% of your MP back, so it's important to try to be cost efficient as possible until you're in the last round, where you can relax a little bit. ATB boost, particularly useful with Cloud, comes in clutch at various moments. Chakra and Prayer, lots and lots of healing potential and revival. Now I've got this on all of them really, apart from Aerith. I've got Chakra and Prayer on Tifa as well. Revival with all of them, pretty important. And then with Tifa, I've in fact gone a step further and given her Re-Raise. This becomes quite useful, especially because at various points you can use their, I think it's called their Synchronous Cyclone synergy ability between her and Cloud. So this is very expensive Re-Raise, but obviously if she's got infinite MP, then it's fantastic. And because she's very quick, it means that after Synchronous Cyclone, I think that's the name of it, she can just use Re-Raise on everybody, potentially. So this is particularly useful just in case, just to give you a backup. Although often, really, it's not necessary. If you do everything just right, then you shouldn't need it. Healing comes in clutch sometimes. Cleansing is useful, especially combined with Ribbon. And of course, Re-Raise combined with the fact that she's got Reprieve is useful. Sometimes she just needs to use Re-Raise on Cloud and Aerith, and then you know your whole team will be able to survive, for example, if the enemy does an ultimate or wipes you all out. But that should be fairly rare if you follow everything to the T. Cleansing is useful because she's got Ribbon. So it makes her the one that keeps your party free of status ailments. Revival, as I mentioned before. Chakra and Prayer, as I mentioned before. Fire with Elemental. This time she's got the immunity, but she's not got the absorption of it because Elemental is not fully leveled. So again, bit of a disadvantage there. And then just some buff ups for her, which are useful. She's got First Strike and HP up. So Cloud doesn't have any immediate boost to his ATB at the start of battle, which you do feel. But it's okay. It's actually still perfectly manageable. In order to get Tifa quickly up to Chi level 2, I've given her the First Strike. Arguably, you could give First Strike to Cloud instead. That might be better in some of the fights, but it's okay as it is. So then that brings us on to Aerith. Magnify with healing does come in clutch, although, again, I don't need to use it too often, but it's useful to have it. Revival, as I've mentioned before. I've given her all of the magic elements, so lightning and wind here, and then fire and ice, which I've got on defense. Now for her, that is particularly important, especially because at the end against Sephiroth, he goes through a fire phase and then an ice phase. He doesn't get a chance to go any further than that because we'll defeat him before he gets there. So fire and ice defense on Aerith is particularly useful. Again, I've got a level 2 elemental, not ideal. Would be great if she could absorb that, but she'll be immune to damage of those elements. And then limit siphon, obviously we need that to do the infinite limit trick. And then the ATB boost, for her it's very useful because she is the slowest by far, so giving her that is pretty handy. Then we've got a couple of buff ups here. Now you can see again we are at a disadvantage because we don't have fully leveled up materia, but again, if you like a challenge, they have a bit of a buff. And in fact, I've just noticed I've given her this by mistake. Now really, this should be something different. I think we can give her... so now I've won on this, by the way. So that just goes to show that, yeah, this definitely... The strategy here works. Because I gave her 3 HP ups, which exceeds the 30% maximum cap. So this exceeds it as well, but with only one of them. And in fact, what you could argue is you could maybe here instead just give up 5% HP in order to gain... some spirit up instead, and I think this is probably better. So we're going to have vitality, HP and spirit all buffed up. So there you go. I've even managed to optimize it a little bit, but I did win on this, and in fact now I can consistently win with this party setup. So there you go. That is the setup. I don't think there's anything else that I particularly need to show you. Hopefully you will have the equipment that you need in order to have those materia slots available. Is there anything that I need to show you here? ATB charge up, useful for Cloud. Selfish buff up is very good for healing, and then a bit of attack power on him. And then I've got the unbridled strength increase because some of these fights are very, very long. Synergy damage up because she will use it occasionally. She uses that synchronous cyclone with Cloud, and then a bit more HP, and then concentration, which is useful. And that activates as well if she dies and is resurrected. She gets that chance of being at Chi level 1, which is quite useful. And then on Aerith, Enduring Ward, just because again some of the fights are long, and we do use the Arcane Ward and the Radiant Ward a little bit in this run through. And then Tempest, which to be honest, this could change to something else as well, probably. I mean, I'll leave it as it is. I think that's not too essential. Enhanced Guard, and then some HP. So there you go. That is the setup. Let me get on now and show you the actual fights. Right, so starting out, Sujata and Phoenix. We want to start by focusing down on Sujata, and we'll start off with Cloud. So we want him to have 3 pips towards his synergy abilities, and you want to watch out for these fire attacks because he, unlike the other 2, he is not immune to them. So we want to get 3 pips towards his, and that was a double whammy there. Thunderous Stomp plus Rending Talons, both going for Cloud at the same time. He was going to get hit by one of them. So we'll get the pips up for his synergy ability. We also want him to have a full limit break available so that we can start the infinite siphon of limit breaks with Aerith. So that's why we're controlling him. For the most part, we don't want to be, because we want to be controlling one of the other two who are immune to fire, which is a great advantage in this fight, especially Aerith, who's also immune to ice, making her tremendously good. So I make a mistake here. I did ATB boost when she already had 2 ATB. I should have put the ward down first and then done the ATB boost. So now I'm having to build that back up. Only a little mistake. And here we'll just throw out a couple of whatever he's weak to, which at the minute is ice, I believe, and fire. So I've chosen to do ice. I think it's ice and fire that he's weak to, or is it ice and thunder? I'm not quite sure. So she will put him in a pressurized state, which is a perfect opportunity then for Cloud to swoop in and do the actual staggering so that he gets that towards his limit break, which is what we want. And he's doing Ferocious Lion, which normally, by the way, if you're in range of that, it can stun you, so you want to be going away. But in this case, I was close enough to staggering him that I just did a focused thrust, and that did the job. So we're now very close to our goal. Aerith and Cloud both had 3 pips towards their synergy ability, so they are now using Firework Blade, which I'm doing while he's staggered. You could say that actually we should be damaging Kujata right now. And actually I could have brought Tifa in to do some more damage, but I actually want to be prepared for what happens after we defeat Kujata, which is why I didn't just go for ending the fight there. That was a disastrous Thunderous Stomp. The AI didn't manage to get either of the other 2 out of the way, but that's okay. So what we're wanting to do now is get ourselves completely ready for what happens when Kujata goes down, which is namely that we want enough healing potential, particularly for Cloud, because he's the one that's going to take damage. Aerith and Tifa managed to not get damaged too much because of their immunities to the elements. But Cloud will take damage, so we want to be ready to do some healing. And ideally, we would also like to have a limit break available for Cloud, because he's going to be damaged after Phoenix does his ultimate, which is what happens when Kujata goes down. So yeah, it would be good to have a limit break available. So that's basically the goal. That's what we're working towards. But for now, Cloud will do a limit break, just to kind of start bringing us towards that goal of taking Kujata out. I'm also watching things like how much is left on their haste, because it's ideal to have them all on haste the whole way through. But this is quite nice. We just continue lather, rinse and repeat as far as the limit siphoning is concerned. So yeah, as I say, I want Cloud to be able to keep everybody hastened up. It's nice, by the way, there I just tag teamed over to Kujata with Tifa, and that puts her in the air. Don't know if you knew that. That's a quick way to get Tifa in the air, because without using her synergy skills, she doesn't have a natural way of getting into the air other than using one of her abilities. So yeah, tag team will get her into the air automatically. So Kujata goes down, but now I've chosen to do Synchro Cyclone, which will give them both Tifa and Cloud infinite MP. And Tifa has got heal and Cloud has got mana wall. So that will protect him nicely for what Phoenix is about to do now that Kujata's gone down. And Aerith has finished her limit break, giving them both Tifa and Cloud a full limit attack, which is fantastic. So we are now very, very ready for this next phase, where as soon as the damage lands and Cloud gets hit, Tifa's just going to do a big cure on Cloud, which she can spend as much MP as she wants on that. But because of the mana wall that Cloud managed to put up as well, thanks to having the infinite mana, which we want, by the way, because you only get 30% of your mana back, or MP I should say, mana points, every round. So we're trying to limit how much MP we're spending, just in case you were thinking, well, why did we have to use Synchro Cyclone? That is the reason. So yeah, now we are in a really good position. We're just going to continue with Limit Siphon, but as you may have noticed, we're targeting Phoenix now, because after Phoenix does his ultimate, he becomes targetable and damageable. In the first round, before he does his ultimate, you can't actually really hurt him. Which is why now we're going to target him down first, because he's the squishier of the two. Always watch out for Thunderous Stomp, because that will do 2k damage if it lands on you. I mean, and this is basically it. So from here, I'll skip to the next fight now, because obviously as soon as Phoenix is down, you're left only with Kujata, and you've got your infinite limit breaks on the go. At this point, it's basically the end of the fight. So I'll just jump straight to the next one to save a bit of time. Okay, so this is a much harder fight. In a way, the setup that we've got is really good for all the other fights and not as good for this fight. So this is one that I find more challenging. We'll start out with Cloud. Same sort of idea. We want him to be able to build up his limit. We've only got the limit booster on him, so it's not the Gotterdammerung. We haven't got that yet, so limit booster it'll have to be. And the way this works, by the way, they both target, so Titan and Bahamut will target two different people. So it'll either be Cloud or Tifa that you're primarily using right now. It's ideal if it's Cloud, but it's not the end of the world if it has to be Tifa to basically wear down Titan. And so you're destroying that pulse of defense that he's got, which is a little bit like the shield that he has when you fight him the first time round. You're wanting to destroy that. And at the same time, same plan as before, we're wanting to have 3 pips towards Cloud and Aerith's synergy abilities so that they can use Firework Blade, so that Cloud can have increased damage when he does, well, so that he can use his second limit break. So we're kind of part of the way there now. Cloud's got plenty of ATB, but Aerith hasn't got much. And this is a good opportunity. When you stagger Titan, they both go into this sort of mode where there's a bit of stillness. So you see that symphonic charge that Bahamut is doing. This is your opportunity to get ATB, if you haven't yet, on both Cloud and Aerith, because that's what you want. And don't forget that on Cloud and Aerith you have got ATB boost for exactly that reason. So it's during this little gap while Titan, and again we're not doing loads of damage to Titan because that is not our focus. Our focus is to get started with the infinite limit, and we've done it just in time so that Aerith can start that as she's being attacked by Bahamut. So it's good timing in this fight. Doesn't always work out perfectly, but there are moments when there's stillness. So if you need to wait for those moments of stillness while they're doing particle charge, I think that's one of them. There are other moments of stillness when you can build up ATB, build up those pips towards the synergy abilities, and even use those synergy abilities. So right now I've gone over to Tifa because she's kind of my favorite for fighting Titan. And she's very quick, so you know, especially with haste, she'll kind of be great for, I'm not doing a very good job just at the moment, but she'll be very good for also keeping them all healed up. I'm blocking now because I don't have ATB, but you can of course also use focused thrust to dodge out of the way. There you go, particle charge. This is an opportunity. So we grab the opportunity immediately. We're going to do Firework Blade with Aerith and Cloud, and then just keep hacking away with Tifa. You can also in these junctures, you can also get her up to Chi level 2, which is pretty useful. Keep them all healed up. And this is great because now, obviously, Cloud is ready to start doing his limit break attacks. And it will be Ascension rather than just cross slash, which really doesn't take up much time. And so Ascension it'll be. So you're always wanting to watch what Bahamut is doing because he can be very, very awkward. There are times when he seems to target whoever you're controlling. Now those are the very, very difficult fights, but even if that happens, there will be moments of stillness in the fight. And so your goal is, if you need to, wait for those moments of stillness. Now the AI has allowed Aerith to go down, but that is why all of them have raise. Symphonic Strikes will just be a big attack that they kind of both do. It's particular to their combination. And now we've got an opportunity to end Titan, which is great. And we can now just do that with Tifa because she does that much damage. And here comes Bahamut. But it's okay, we will be able to finish off Titan before having to worry too much about what Bahamut is doing. And I managed to dodge out of the way. Flame Breath you can dodge by dodging to the right if you got Tifa on Chi level 2. I think you can also just dodge behind him, to be honest. And you should be okay. Underneath and behind him will work. So particle charge, a nice little moment for us to take a breather, but don't get too complacent with this because enough particle charges and enough of his different forms, and don't forget again ATB boost there, but eventually he will do Mega Flare and that will just end you. I have got Reprieve on Tifa, so she will come back to life if such a thing does happen, but don't bank on that. And generally I like to wait to see what Bahamut is doing, because it's quite nice if he attacks Aerith while she's immune, doing her limit break. So sometimes it's just as well. Now we're going to do the Synchro Cyclone, which does interrupt him, and also of course gives them infinite MP, Cloud and Tifa. And really from here, I don't think there's too much that I need to show you. It's just lather, rinse, repeat. I do re-raise when you've got infinite MP, just because you never know. And re-raise is so useful for that, especially if you've got infinite MP, just use that with Tifa. Magnify and re-raise doesn't work, by the way. I think they decided that would just be a little bit too OP.
This one's for you.
Get plenty of ATB on Aerith. Just do a little cure of Tifa, because Aerith kind of wasn't teleporting Tifa out of the way there, so I think she feels a bit bad. But there you go. Yeah, at this point there's nothing else really to say. Oh yes, just a reminder on how to pressure him, which I did just now. If one of you have run into any of those orbs on the field, you'll see a little symbol appear beneath their name. Then if you use any kind of synergy skill or synergy ability, it'll pressure Bahamut. So that is definitely worth doing, and I'm just using another synergy ability now because why not? But yeah, the whole point in that is remember how to pressure him, because you don't want it to go on forever, because eventually he will use Mega Flare. So yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it for now. The rest of the fight is really just taking down his health, wearing him down. So you know what to do now, and at this point it's pretty much a done deal. Right, so this is the fight that people usually get stuck on. It's a horrible combination of Odin and Alexander, but actually it's not too difficult. I mean, really, you just want to watch the guides on each one of these, and it's just tougher because they're kind of here together. But if you know exactly how to handle both of them, where we're going to start is with Odin. We want to bring down 1/4 of his health, and that will be enough for him to vanish from the field. And you can't avoid with the combination of moves that every now and again one of them will get hit, but that's quite okay. And so we are wanting to build up the pips here towards synergy abilities, but it's important to emphasize that in this fight we're not actually going to be using the infinite limit trick, simply because we don't need to. In fact, it kind of is, I found it harder to try and use it. It's better to just defeat these guys using, you know, the same old strategies as before. Now, Tifa is by far the best to be using against Odin if you can, just because she can dodge with focus thrust. But with things like Earth Tremor, there's no way avoiding taking a few hits. And watch out for Wave Cannon, it throws those beams across the ground which you don't want to get hit by. So meanwhile, Cloud now has 3 pips towards his synergy abilities, which is good. Aerith is to follow, but just not yet. Now we've done well because he's done Sleipnir's Furor, which makes him a lot quicker, but it also pressures him, and this is when you really want Tifa to be the one that you're controlling. I've gotten a lot I'm out of practice, as you can see, with Odin. I mean, I was able to dodge all of these attacks of his previously, but not so anymore. A little bit out of practice, but it's nothing that you can't recover from. And actually, it is, in a way, better to try to actually do the staggering with Cloud, because then Cloud will have a limit break available. So yeah, Tifa is fantastic to use in general against Odin, but when it comes to the actual staggering, probably better to still do that with Cloud. Now, when he's staggered is our opportunity to do something different. We're not going to concentrate on damaging Odin. We're actually going to focus on bringing down these arms, which we can do using thunder attacks with Aerith. So we're going to focus on that instead of damaging Odin. The main thing is we only want one of them on the field at a time, because the two of them together is what makes it a nightmare. So thankfully we've done enough damage. Odin disappears, leaving us only to have to worry about Alexander. We'll take away his right arm. And I mean, Alexander is still a fairly formidable foe, even on his own. But with Thundara, now we're a bit unlucky in this fight, because he's happened to have done Whirling Ray, which is those beams on the ground which are incredibly inconvenient. But nevertheless, Aerith was able to damage both arms, and now that means Alexander is pressured. And I've tag teamed over to Aerith, which puts her in the air, and she is going to be the one to stagger him this time and also build up that ATB. Now Aerith with 2 ATB and at Chi level 2 will be enough to end Alexander now. Pretty much always. Now I've made a mistake here. I should have done Firework Blade. I don't know why in this run through I chose not to do that. I should have done Firework Blade with Cloud and with Aerith, just to give Cloud that Ascension limit break, which actually comes in handy. Even though we're not doing the infinite limit trick, even though we're not doing that in this fight, it would have still been better for Cloud to have his Ascension limit break available. Yeah, so I've also healed them up, which is a good opportunity to do that now whilst he's staggered. And then I've decided instead of Firework Blade to do Synchro Cyclone with Tifa and Cloud, which is a mistake. I should have done Firework Blade, but it's not the end of the world. We are now left only with Odin, and it's kind of game over from here. I mean, you can watch my guide on how to defeat Odin. You can defeat Odin with one person. So obviously if you've got 3, it's a lot easier. I mean, granted this is hard mode, but it's still very, very doable. And I mean, it is nice to have Mana Wall, but we don't really need it. Would have been better, I think, if Cloud had his second limit available for when we stagger Odin, which should happen fairly soon. Just getting back to Tifa. Yeah, we tried to tag Cloud out of the way of that, but weren't entirely successful. From here we're basically home free, except I'm a little bit out of practice. Remember, the charged attacks, you want to stay out of the way. Don't even try and block them. So the main thing, yeah, Sleipnir's Fura is good. It means you've done enough damage. He's not going to do Zantetsuken, but he does become quicker. Dodge with Focus Thrust, and you should be completely able to stagger him. And that's where, if only we did have Ascension with Cloud, there'd be more of a guarantee of finishing the fight quickly. But as it is, even in the situation that we're in right now, it'll be plenty for us to end the fight. If the way it works out for you is that he does get down to about a quarter health and he's not staggered, then he will do a move called Temporal Confinement, which will completely freeze whoever you're controlling. So don't forget that. Just make sure you're controlling someone when he goes into Lord of the Battle, his final phase. Make sure you're controlling someone that you don't mind getting frozen, so probably Aerith. And he'll freeze them, and then you can finish him off with the other 2. So there you go. That one is easy enough once you know exactly what to do. Okay, so it's getting exciting now, and we're going to move on to the fight against Gilgamesh. So this is the fight. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is in a way, I think, the toughest of all of the fights. because there's just so much to learn about his moveset, and his moveset is so chaotic. So we're going to start out controlling Cloud, who is generally the best guy to be controlling. I mean, you can also use Tifa, to be honest, if you're quick enough, and you can just use focus thrust to dodge a lot of his attacks. With sloppy sword play, dodge forward and right, or forward and left, so diagonally dodge him. And then with a lot of his other attacks, it's just a case of blocking at the right moment or dodging out of the way. Now here is where the infinite limit trick becomes so handy. And I am using both haste and mana wall. Sloppy sword play. Again, draw slash, just wait for the moment when he comes towards you and dodge diagonally. So yeah, we're wanting to build up those pips, and yeah, if Cloud does get turned into a frog, which was just me not paying attention, then that is why Tifa has got Esuna to get that off him. So again, it's eventualities that we have planned for. That whirlpool dance, by the way, if you're Cloud, just zip towards wherever Gilgamesh is, because he's just going to be still for a while, pulling that off, and you can just slash away at him, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so we're building up the pips towards Firework Blade. Now the trick in this is finding a safe moment to use Firework Blade. That's actually pretty tricky, and I'd say it's also pretty difficult to get Aerith to build up that ATB and to build up those pips, because she's just so much slower than Cloud and Tifa, and she's a lot more frail. So, you know, I try and stay away from him. He's weak to fire, and by the way, I put down Radiant Ward because that makes her quicker. And Flutterwing Dance is a good opportunity to jump over to Aerith because it's slow. The Whirlpool as well is a good opportunity to jump over to Aerith. So you'll learn basically when it's safe to move over to her and when it's safe to use the Firework Blade, which is what we want to do. So dodge diagonally from sloppy sword play. We're doing quite well here. His shield is up, the Genji shield. Phantasmal Field, get away from him, but if you need ATB on Aerith, it's also a good opportunity to go to her. It's also a good opportunity to use Firework Blade because he's going to stand in the middle of the Phantasmal Field. Now, he's just done a move, I forget the name, but it puts those electric orbs around him where if you hit him at all, physically, you'll be stunned. You can still obviously attack him with ranged attacks, but basically when those sort of electric orbs are around him, stay away. You can still block, but just don't hit him. So, he's now doing a countdown where if he gets to the end of his countdown, he does his ultimate attack, which is pretty dangerous. So we want to interrupt him with a limit break. And we are very close to getting that limit break. It's in a way not too bad to just let Cloud take some damage, because that way he gets closer to his limit. So I've chosen now, while he's doing the Flutter Wing move, which takes up a lot of his time, it's a good chance to use Firework Blade just to get that Ascension limit break available on Cloud. Speed them all up. Imperiality, I'm pronouncing that wrong probably, but that's another one where you want to dodge diagonally. It's very important that you don't get hit by that because it will put all sorts of status effects on you. But again, that's why we've got Tifa in case we need to use Esuna. Now at last, we can start the infinite limit, and we're just in time. I think he's on, yeah, there you go, he's on 2. And that's about normal, by the way. So it's pretty normal that by the time he finishes his countdown with this strategy, you will have Ascension available. If you kind of do everything the way that I've advised, make sure that you've got haste on everybody, and take advantage of things like Fluttering Dance when you've got time, because so many of his other moves are so quick. But we're into it now, Rising Fury. And by the way, when you destroy the Genji shield, he becomes pressured. And when you do some of these big attacks, by the way, Soaring Cross is another sort of opportunity while he's doing that to jump to Aerith and get ATB on her and generally do stuff with her where she's not at risk of getting hit.
I'll show you what I can do.
Gilgamesh pose, she did get hit, and I knew that she would, but it's no problem because he's about to get smacked by Ascension.
Here it comes.
Don't forget, kind of as much as you can, every time, I'll just try and zip her out of the way of that. She's a little bit close to the action, so I'm not being too careless with her at the minute. Don't forget, before you... Oh, just zip her out of the way of that as well. This is where it's... So she's too close at the minute. Everybody's too close together. Ooh, and I let Cloud get hit by that. Not great. Yeah, we'll just get Aerith to do a quick heal. Don't forget about ATB boost. So just before using Limit Siphon, every time on Aerith, just do a quick check in case she can do a ATB boost. So she's in the Phantasmal field right now, Aerith is, but that's okay. Actually, I forgot in that moment, I think, to get her to pull off her Limit Break. But in a way, from here, there's nothing else in particular for me to show you. It's all just the same stuff. Like, you just need to know his moveset, know when it's safe to do moves with Aerith, know when to avoid him, like right now, when he's got the orbs around him, and then just use the infinite glitch. Know how to dodge, like there, dodging diagonally out of the way, and then the infinite limit attack. And then whilst he's doing Ascension is when you want to be with Aerith.
One more shot.
And you're not worrying too much about when he's staggered exactly. You're just making sure that you can keep this pattern going. Obviously, if he is staggered, you try and use Tifa to do the damage while he's down. But don't forget to keep the infinite limit going. And like this, I find I beat him each time now. It's not too difficult. So I hope that all makes sense. I don't think there's anything else really to show you. He's very, very tanky, so it just takes a while. And he adds a few moves to his moveset when he gets to this phase. So Busted Sword and Masked Mooney, I think it's called. But really, even having those extra moves, it's not much more to learn. And if you do big attacks like that, he'll lose one or other of his swords. Hex Gate is a new move. He jumps into the air and on you very, very quickly. Up, down. So it's a new move when he's in this sort of final phase. But yeah, anyway, not much else to tell you, so I'll leave it at that. And we'll jump to the final of these brutal fights. Right, so this fight, Sephiroth, now there's just really one mechanic that is the absolute destroyer. As you can see here, I was pretty much learning how to dodge a lot of his attacks, or perfectly block. Not getting it perfect every time, but it's this move, Shadowy Chains. You need to block it perfectly. Ideally, that's better. There are other ways, but the best way generally is to block it perfectly, because that also stuns him. And there's two variations of this which he does. So there's also this one where he throws something at you, and if it hits you, then it binds you, like it did with Cloud just then, and it will... Shadowy Chains will bind all of your team, and eventually he'll perform a move called Octaslash, which will kind of kill you. Now this is the other one. You see that was an orb that he threw at Tifa and she perfectly blocked it. So the orb is, I find, a lot harder than this one, which is just the normal physical one where he zooms towards you. So either way, I think blocking is the way to go. I've looked at other sort of methods, but generally speaking, blocking, as you can see here, it works very nicely. I tried to dodge out of the way at the end of his moves there and didn't succeed, but generally blocking, I think, is the way to go. With Cloud, now we don't need to worry about MP too much. Now watch this, block just at the right moment, and you can see Sephiroth bent over. That's how we want to be doing this. Keep them healed up, and of course now there is, we'll make sure that we get pips towards their synergy abilities, which do become useful. we are going for the infinite limit glitch. I keep calling it glitch. Perfectly block. The infinite limit trick. We are going for that here, but kind of not too much as priority. And we are waiting for a moment where we're able to use Firework Blade, which is kind of tricky. So, Skewer, just when he appears, dodge to the right, away from him. Shadowy Chains, again you'll see a way to
I'll show you what
block that. And if one of you is caught, like in this run through, Tifa got caught here, and now you'll see what happens. If all three of you are caught, he'll pull you all towards him, like he's currently doing to Tifa. I skipped a bit, by the way, where all three were actually bound up, and we managed to survive with a bit of... that's why Tifa's MP is so low, because I had to use her to do re-raise on Cloud and Aerith. Then she had Reprieve on her, and that way after Octoslash finished, they were all alive. And that's how I survived in this particular run through. But actually, once you get good enough at blocking, then it's very rare for Shadowy Chains to actually be effective. And now, just after he's done Octoslash, we've got a bit of a chance to attack him, which we're going to do with Firework Blade, which means that obviously now Cloud has got Ascension, which is fantastic. And we're able to kind of get going more seriously, because that makes a huge difference, being able to do that. Being able to just do constant Ascension attacks. That was not Shadowy Change, but it looks very similar. You can dodge that or just use counter fire with Cloud. Okay, and so now Ascension is available without hesitation. That will of course stop Shadowy Chains. So you can choose to just kind of, as soon as you've got the infinite limit thing going, just wait until he's threatening Shadowy Chains and then get Cloud to zoom in with Ascension. The only thing is, I don't know if the timing will work out perfectly on that, because Ascension takes a while to charge up. So it wouldn't work, I think, with the one where he throws an orb at you, but it would work maybe with the physical version of the attack. Okay, so now he's moved into the next phase. I was a bit careless there and allowed poor Aerith to get skewered, where he'll have an affinity. And in the run-throughs I've done so far, he'll have an affinity to fire or ice. I'm sure that there'll be other affinities too, but I usually finish him off quick enough before that becomes a problem. So this is great for Aerith, because she's got obviously immunity. Now if I had done what a lot of people do, which is to fully level up all of the materia, then actually the fire and the ice phase would be perfect for Aerith, because she'll actually receive health that way. She'll absorb all of the attacks. So yeah, he's in his affinity right now. Merciless Faraga is not a threat at all, but he casts Faraga really quickly, and I think he casts it how many times? Let's see, once. I think it's twice or maybe even 3 times. So yeah, really he just has these affinities. You're still watching out for Shadowy Chains. He'll still do, I think, Octoslash. And he'll do this Infernal Flare, which is pretty nasty, but again, you can interrupt a lot of his moves with Ascension. And that'll be it. Essentially, I don't think there's anything else I need to show you strategically. With this, you will be able to finish him off. So, thank you very much for watching. He'll now go into the Ice affinity, which again is not a worry for Aerith, and this time I managed to zip her out of the way in time. Blizzaga, let's see how many times it hits. I think it's twice. Maybe it's twice, and it doesn't worry Aerith at all. I let her get hit by that by mistake. Nothing that she can't heal. Weather though, which is good. So I'll stop there, but thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you've found this helpful.